Wow. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, after we have striped umbrella selected on the right-hand side, let's go ahead and open up the spa page. Spa. Woo! Yes, spa page. So what we have here, on our spa page, we have a series of different types of massages. We have sports massage, Swedish massage, hot stone massage, and then we have facials. So we're going to select these massages. Does that make sense? Now, I want you to make that an unordered list. Okay, unordered list means bullets. Okay, so down here, we're bullets in. Okay. Now, let's do the same thing. There are 3 facials, so let's do the same thing to facials. Select them, and we're going to set them as an unordered list. And body treatments, do not do that last paragraph, though, where it says, call the C Spa desk. Make sure your headings are not bulleted either. That looks good, Vine. Mackenzie looks nice. Kayla. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our first bulleted list item under massages. Click on any one. You can click on Swedish massage, hot stone, or sports massage. It doesn't matter. Now, down here on the bottom, we have our properties panel. And you may not see this, but do you see how I just expanded my properties panel? This little tiny arrow, I'm making it go up and down. So I'm going to expand my properties panel so that I can see this option right here that says list item. So when I do that, I get this pop-up window that allows me to go through and set my properties for my list. Okay, so right now my list type is a bulleted list because it's an unordered list, but then I can choose my style, and right now my style is set to default, which gives me a circular bullet. But I can go through and I can change either to a bullet or a square. So let's try a square. And then you can go ahead and click on OK. And then you will notice you don't have a round bullet anymore. What do you have? Squares. Okay, let's go ahead and do that to facials. And again, did I have to highlight everything? I just put my cursor on one item in that bulleted list, went under my properties panel on the very bottom, and then changed it to square. Anyone need help with that? Anyone need help on getting their bullets squares? All right, so the next thing we're going to do is let's take a look at our code. I'm going to put my cursor on one of my bulleted lists. I don't really care if you use the massages, the facials, or the body glow. I'm just going to put it on there. And I'm actually going to highlight a little bit. And the reason I'm going to highlight is because when I go to my code view, it makes it easier to see where I'm at. Okay, so I just highlighted something in there. Now I'm going to go to code. Because when I go to code, do you see how it's still highlighted? If you want to do split view instead of code view, it doesn't matter. And all I want to point out is notice our HTML code for this. We have already hand-coded this, so I don't have to spend as much time explaining it. But you can see right here, unordered list, UL. And notice right now here it says type equals square. That's where we went through and changed, instead of it being a default round bullet, that we changed it to square. And now here, this is LI, and notice here we have a BR. That BR is that shift enter. It was already pre-formatted in there, but that is why our deepest massage for the intense and sore muscles doesn't have a bullet in front of us, because our ending LI is right here. So you can have a BR within your unordered list for you to go ahead and have a little bit more formatting to it. And then you can see the end of my LI. Last one is here, and then we have our ending of our list, and then a new list that's going to be started. So just seeing how our tags work through. All right, I'm going back to design view. I'm going to go after the very last paragraph here that says extension 39 period. Okay. After extension 39 period, my cursor is flashing there, we are going to import another Word document. Hopefully remembering how to do this, we go to File, Import, Word document, and you're going to find that on the network. And this is Chapter 3, and it should be questions. I'm going to wait a little bit because if everyone opens at the same time, I think last time we got a little bit of an error. That's okay. Now, anytime we import a Word document, what do we have to do right away? Clean up our HTML, and we find that under Commands. So once your text appears on there, mine is still spinning in spinning land, you're going to make sure that you go ahead and clean up your HTML. Okay, I am going to make sure my cursor, now look at, because my cursor was flashing right here, do you see how questions is appearing on exactly the same line right there? What I want you to do is I want you to insert a HR. Do you remember where your horizontal rules are? Should be on the very far right under your insert panel. You have your HR, your horizontal rule. Okay. Now, there are a series of questions here. How do I schedule a spa? What will I be charged? Are there any health safeguards? What about tipping? I want those to be an ordered list, not an unordered, so I want them to be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So select them and make those questions an ordered list. Now, we kind of have this line here that says questions you may have. Let's go ahead and set that to heading 3. Okay, so I'm going to highlight my text here, and down on my properties panel here, I'm going to go ahead and change that format from paragraph to heading 3. Now, the other thing that I am noticing when I look at this page, I'm going to scroll up just a smidge, is do you see how all of my main text that's not a list is over here at my left-hand margin. All of my list items have been indented in just a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take these questions and we're going to indent them in a little more because it's just going to make our text line up a little bit different and make our questions down here stand out from the rest of my information on my page. So I'm going to highlight my 1 through 4 questions here, just how we set it to an ordered list before. And we actually have a button right here on my properties panel that is going to increase indent. So it's going to take everything I have selected and it's going to move it over on my page. And each time I click that button, it'll move it over. So you can go through and arrange text, and we're only going to need to click on it once. Liar. Okay? So we just increased that indent over. And do you see how that changes your eye when you're going down your page and you're reading text? It makes this stand out a little bit differently than our bulleted list from up above. Now, the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a look at our code. And because I have those items selected, how did it indent it? What code did it add? Another ordered list. So that adding an additional ordered list is what moved it over. So if I were to hit that increase indent button again, what would it do? And add another OL, because each OL is going to be, or ordered list is going to be what's going to indent it in. Okay? Let's save that page. We know we need to save it because of what?
I already saved them ahead of you.
How do we know that we haven't saved this page? The asterisk next to the name of your page. So we're going to go ahead and go to File and Save, and Shazam Wham, your page is saved. We have already talked about cascading style sheets. We've done internal, you've done external with your work within our Code Academy. Now we're going to see how to go through and set it up here in Dreamweaver. Now, doing cascading style sheets in Dreamweaver is relatively easy, except that initial setup phase. When you go to make an external style sheet, one that can be linked to several pages, if you don't set it up correctly to begin with, that's where things get a little bit confusing. So I'm just giving you that as a heads up. We're going to start with something easy and go through and just set up our an internal cascading style sheet, one that's just going to be linked on that page, and then eventually we'll talk about an external, because an external is going to be the most functional for developing a whole website. Just making one page using an internal CSS is great. Whole site with multiple pages, we need to use an external. So what I want to point out is when we physically look at our properties panel, all of the properties panel work that we have been doing lately has been in HTML. Now look right here. Did you even notice that it said CSS right there? Okay, so your properties panel can go through and change between HTML and CSS just by clicking right there on your properties panel. And then when you click on there, you will notice that we have targeted rule, we have font, we have edit rule, we have a CSS panel, and then we even have page properties down there on the bottom. Hang on one second, I'm reading, I forgot a step. The other thing I want you to make sure is on the right-hand side, a lot of you have moved your panels all around and everything's really wacky, so I want you to make sure you have a CSS panel open on the right. If you do not, how do you get a panel open? Window. Okay. And then right here I have CSS. I unchecked it. Okay. And then you can turn it back on. So my CSS styles is open here on the right-hand side. Does everyone find theirs? Anyone need help finding their CSS style panel? Because I'll come up and make sure we got it. Mine is within the same tab that has Adobe Browser Lab and AT Elements. So when I can also go through right now in my panels, and I can adjust how much I can see. I can make my files panel really big by clicking and dragging up. I can shrink it down depending on how much I want to be able to see of my different aspects. Notice when I moved my CSS panel open farther, I actually get to see more of this property section that's going to be on the very bottom down here. Okay? So again, I just go until I get a two-headed arrow that points up and down, and then I can go ahead and click and drag and change the height of the panels that I'm working within. If you don't like the location of your panel, you click and you'll notice that you have a blue docking bar. That blue docking bar will move the location of that panel. I believe, Preston, I had to help you the other day get your properties panel back down in the right spot. And was it Riley? Yours is all out of whack and your properties panel was over on the right? Somebody's was. But all of your various panels can be moved. Okay? So if yours doesn't match mine exactly, that is okay. So again, we have our properties panel open up here. We have all and we have current. And then you have these buttons on the very bottom here. You have an option to attach a style sheet. You have a new CSS rule. Okay? So this is what we need to find, is that piece of paper with a plus on it. Does everyone see where my cursor is? Over here on the right-hand side. Oh, I just clicked on the wrong thing. Oh. I got happy with my clicking. Good Lord. Ah! Oh, properties panel, that's what I grabbed. It does. Properties panel always stays very wide. So there, now I got it. So when you click on the new CSS rule, this page comes up. Okay? So we have an option on the very top of our new CSS rule. We can choose the option for the selector type. We have class, can apply to any HTML elements, IDs, tags, or compound. And we're going to go ahead and leave that set right to class. And it says selector name. We can go through and choose or enter a few names for your selector. I'm gonna choose right here. It's blank. My goodness. So we have to give it a name. And we're going to type list underscore, which is the underline, headings. You cannot have a space in your selector name that you're applying. Could I call this Mrs. Grassel's the best ever? Could I say Reed needs to do more homework? Could that be my class selector, my selector name? It's not. But the point being is I chose the word list heading because we're going to apply this style to what? The heading names of my list. So you can name the CSS selector name to anything you want, but it should probably describe how you're going to be using it because it'll make it a lot easier. So we're going to make this CSS or this new rule to apply to our list heading. Now, this is the step that we oftentimes miss in the future. Right now, if I make a new rule, if I click on OK, is it an internal or an external CSS? Internal. Why, Jeremy? Right here. This document only. And that's okay. Right now, we're just going to make an internal or an embedded CSS rule. But if you need to make an external one, guess what we would have to do? We would have to change that. And we're not going to right now, but I just need to point that out because it gets a little bit confusing later on for students. Okay? So, we can go ahead and click on OK to make an internal embedded one. And when I do that, you will notice what happens over here in my panel, my CSS panel. I have a new style. It's called period list headings. Did we type period? It automatically put that period ahead of it. And if you recall back when we did some of our hand coding for CSS styles, we know that's how we gave it our name. So this got added here, and then I got this CSS rule defining for list headings. So this is going to be where we choose what color, what font, our size, and all of our funness there. We don't have to type it all in there. We can go ahead and just select it. So we're going to change right here under our category type. We're going to change our font family And our font family is going to be set to Arial, Helvetica, yes, sans serif. Let's set our font size to 12 pixels. Our font style is going to be set to normal. I do want to make it bold, so we're going to go over here to our font weight, and you're going to find the option for bold. Now, please note, we have an option right here, text declaration. We can underline it. Should you underline text on a web page? Because then people think it's a link. So, okay, just saying. We can also do an overline. That would be a line that would go through. A line through is kind of gives you the strike-through effect. And then you have blink. Okay, don't be the annoying web designer and make text blink. I don't know why they gave you that option, but I'm just saying. Yes. Great. Give everyone a seizure while they're viewing your page. Okay. The other thing we want to do is let's set our color. We're going to set our color to a very nice deep blue that's going to kind of match that color from that C-Spa logo. And there's two things you can do. Is you can click on this box here and you're going to get your eyedropper tool, or we can go ahead and type it in. And we're going to type it in as #006. And then when you do that, you should find it gives you a really dark blue color. So it's #006. Once you have your type set to that, you can go ahead and click on OK.
Yeah, so it's fine. You hit enter.
Okay, so you will notice right here, I'm on my CSS panel on the right-hand side. I have list heading open. Now down here in the bottom, I expanded. Do you see this is where I set all of my stuff? Now, I can go in right now and change my font size right here. I can literally change it from 12 to 14 here. I don't have to get the panel back up, but I'm going to leave it set at 12. Again, it's because I have this selected here. Now, did anything actually go through and get stylized the way we wanted it to, though? All we did is just make the rule. Okay? What we need to do now is apply that rule to some of our text. And the headings that we want to do it to is going to be like massages, facials, body treatments. Okay? So, I'm going to select massages. I'm stuck again. Hang on. I'll get it. Okay, it was there, I just didn't see it. So, highlight massages, and then if you look at targeted rule, right here you have an option on the very bottom is list heading. I didn't look far enough down. And that would set your heading. So we would need to do that to facials. And I'm going to hold down the okay, I can't hold down the control key. I was going to. I wanted to do that.
What is Blink supposed to do?
It would have to be when you view it in your browser. I already taught you how to do that. You know what? When I look at this, what do you think of the font size of 12? small. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to change that rule. Instead of it being 12, over here on the right, go ahead and set it to 14. Then what happens? Did I have to go through and change anything on my page? Because I had it set up as a CSS, it automatically went through and changed it. Right? Wasn't that a more effective way? I could have gone through and selected body treatment and gone down here and set my font, set my size, and set my color each individually. Is that an effective use of my time? When you know that you have several items that you want to have formatted the same way, you want to make a rule. We gave this rule the name list heading, okay? And we put the underline in there just so we didn't have to have words crammed together, but we can't use spaces, and it automatically gave it the period at the very beginning of that. Now this sometimes works and sometimes does not work. So I'm going to click right here in this heading for massages. And do you see how I get like a steering wheel for a pirate ship? Do you see how mine comes up that way? Okay. I clicked there and I literally just left my cursor there and it pops up. That goes through and it gives me my code navigator. And I can actually then click on that steering wheel, which gives me my code navigator. And it tells me some information. It tells me when I clicked on it that I am on the SPA HTML page and that I have my list heading applied to it. So anytime that you're working through your page and you're trying to figure out what code is being applied to it, you can click, and then if it has code that will come up, that steering wheel would appear, and click on it and it give you information. So it's just an easy way that you could see that how it's applied, and then notice if I mouse over list heading, it actually tells you all of the things that are being applied to it as well. You can disable your code navigator, but it doesn't really get in the way. You can just go ahead and leave it on. Okay? Well, if you know what it is now. All right. Now, do you have your code navigator open? I want you to click on list headings right here within your code navigator. What did it do? It should have, if you were in design view, it should have given you split view, and it should have taken your cursor and put it right at the very head section of your page where your CSS rule was set. Can I go through and change my CSS right here? I can, can't I? I can change and type right in my HTML code. Because one of the things that we know about Dreamweaver is Dreamweaver does all of our HTML code for us, but it gives us just an easy click command instead of us having to type out all of our brackets, ending, beginning, and such that way. Okay, now this is where we take a look at, all right, I made this list heading, but we went through and we made it as an embedded one. So can I use this on other pages? No. So what I have to do is I'm going to need to go through and change this from an embedded one to an external one. Another tip that I want to show you is I have list heading right here selected. If I wanted to get back into that box that came up that was easier for me to use, I can click on this pencil, and it would give me those options there as well to edit that if you needed to take your blink option off. Okay. I'm pretty sure modern browsers are not going to allow blinking text. What's that? Yes.
They put it in a different way than the artwork. They'll see it on something very often.
Yes.
If their intention is really hard to be annoying. It does bring your attention. Ads.
Much more distracting than it should be, though.
Well, if I want you to buy my car now.
Yes, but if everything says now and it blinks, there is no attention to it.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. I think I figured out how I want to show you. We went through and we made this list heading as an embedded one, but if I want to use this list heading on my index page, I'd have to go through and recreate this. So it's not an efficient way. So we're going to go through and we're actually going to take this and move it to an external style sheet. Okay? So we're going to call this style sheet, we're going to call it SU. SU stands for striped umbrella, and then we do an underline and we call it styles, and that would really give us the name of our style sheet. And it's not going to be saved as a .html file. What would it be saved as? .css. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my style. Oops. No, I just found it and then I lost it. No, I got it. Oh, yes. The link. So I'm going to click on list heading here. And it says we need to attach external style sheet. Well, do we have one made yet? No. So if I look, there's nothing there. If I browse, there's nothing there. So what am I going to need to do? Well, I'm going to have to make one, right? So what I will do to make one is I'm going to go right down here on my properties panel, or I can go right here. I'm going to go ahead and make a new CSS rule. And on down here in the bottom, I'm going to click on New Style Sheet File. Okay, I'll back it up. I clicked on the new CSS rule, the plus page. And instead of it being this document only, I'm going to choose New Style Sheet File. And I'm just going to click on OK. Oh. I'm going to just call one test right now, and then click on OK. And then it's going to ask me to name it, and I'm going to call it SU_styles. Now, when I look over here on the right-hand side, I have SU styles, and then I have list heading. And then if I look down here on my panels, if I hit refresh, not showing up yet. Okay. It's not. I'm going to select SU Style CSS, and I'm going to click on the link. Import. Oh, I think I'm screwing it up. I'll show you again on Monday. I'll pause it right here, and we'll fix it on Monday, I promise.